It's the Ancestry Chronicler here, Sean J. Gandy, and I got a special guest with me today, someone who I've been trying to get on the show for a minute. We've been playing tag with our schedules and everything, but I finally got him locked down. So I'm glad that he's here. You know what I do. So I thank you all for just stopping by, and I ask that you would subscribe, share, and like the content, and let somebody else know about it. Right? Appreciation every time. So, so I'm here with my special guest, and I'm going to have him introduce himself.
All right. My name is Donald Felder Jr., if you will, because, you know, senior is not around. Donald Felder Jr., and I am the founder of Mildred's Kitchen, Catering. Also, cooking with DJ on YouTube. That is me. So I do that. Cooking is what I do. So that's a little bit about me.
Great. That's what's up, man. That's what's up. So, so cook is what you do. How long have you been cooking?
I've been cooking since I was about, 9 years old. Since about 9 years old. Yeah, that's how it was. We grew up in a big family, and that was the first thing we did. It was cooking and coffee. That's what we had.
You said cooking and coffee?
Cooking and coffee, yes.
Okay. Interesting note about coffee. I've never had a cup of coffee in my life. I have no idea what it tastes like.
Wow.
So, yeah, but my wife drinks it religiously, man. She's hooked.
I do.
So you've been cooking since the age of 9, coming from a big family.
Yes.
I'm also from a big family, so I can appreciate, I'm sure that, the family gatherings was around meals, everybody getting around talking and things of that nature. When you guys would get together, who was the person that influenced you to cook?
It was my grandmother, actually. I sat around and watched my grandmother. Everyone else was outside playing, and I'm sitting in the kitchen, watching grandma cook, helping her measure out cups of flour and sugar, and watching how she did it, and being grandma's taster. I tasted all the food. And I tell a lot of people, I joke about it. I said, I didn't get like this from eating salad. No, I tasted a lot of stuff. It wasn't salad. This was food. And so that's how she influenced me to cook. I just loved it, and I watched her do it for years. So she was my influence.
Wow. When she would cook, did she pass down any nuggets, like family stories about her parents or her childhood, or just about the elders or the ancestors? And the reason why I asked that, because a lot of times when I remember growing up and just being around my elders in my family, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, and just being in the kitchen, and they would be in there talking, and they would tell stories about their childhood, or about their parents, or but you always got that mixed with the food. Like, did you get any of that?
Yes, I always did. I remember my grandmother. Now, if anyone is like me, you eat chitlins in my family. Chitlins. What is chitlins? Pig intestines. So my grandmother told me a story of her childhood coming up, of how she grew up in Sylvania, Georgia. And under their house, they actually lived in a house. There were 10 of them. And they actually had hogs under the house. So she said you had like the floorboard, it had like planks, like the old school houses where you could see the animals actually under your porch. And I'm quite sure.
So the house built on stilts?
Yes.
Okay.
And so they lived down south, and she said how her father, which was my great-grandfather, late Robert Blunt Sr., he would go and he would kill the hog, and they would have it for dinner. And I didn't know, I remember her saying things when we would cook, and she would talk about how she had to work with my great-grandmother, the late Mamie Blunt, in the field. Like, they would watch other kids getting on the bus, and they were out in the field picking cotton.
Wow.
So these are things that my grandmother told me during the process of cooking, like old things from back in the day, and what it meant to watch the other kids to go to school and you're helping pick cotton and watching great grandpa, kill a hog and listen to the hog squeal. I couldn't imagine. Like, it would have turned me off altogether. But the story itself didn't kill my love for chitlins. I still love chitlins to this day. But those are some of the things that she shared. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. So like, it's interesting how the foodways is always a place where the family can connect. And I heard you. First of all, I never tried chitlins, and I can't get over the smell. But I've heard that there's ways to cook it where minimizes the smell or eliminates the smell. Yeah, I guess just the whole idea of it, I haven't wrapped my head around it yet.
I think it's because of what it is, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's interesting how you talked about Sylvania, Georgia, and as you probably already know, my wife's maternal grandmother and your grandmother, Mildred, who your catering business is named after, they're actually first cousins.
Right.
So my wife's great-grandfather, Anthony Blunt, and your great-grandfather, Robert Blunt, are brothers, or were brothers. Yeah. So, because I saw the connection, and as a genealogist, my wife and I working on her side of the family, Sylvania is all over the place. So y'all have that, those roots down there in Sylvania. This is always just good to hear stories like that, especially coming from like the old homestead, down here in Georgia. And that's interesting how you even said how the house was on stilts, and up under the house is where they kept the animals. I've never seen that before. So the visual of it is left to my imagination, but eventually I plan on taking a trip down there, trying to convince my wife and her mother. We get in the car, I take a trip down there and just go visit like the old homestead and just see the things down there. But and I don't know if that house is still standing, or
I'm not sure
if there's homes like that still standing. But, even if I could just see the land down there and everything,
that would be nice. Like, I've been to Savannah, but I've never been to Sylvania.
Okay.
And Savannah is a beautiful city. I love it. We had a family reunion there, I want to say 1991. Okay. And you get to see all of these cousins. Like, we have a host of cousins. So there's 10 siblings, and then each of them have like 6 kids or better. So there's so many, and then they have offspring, and so on and so forth and so forth. I'm like, oh, this is my cousin. Oh, I went to school with this person. I didn't know that was my cousin. And it's really amazing. It's really amazing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know the family up here in Jersey, y'all's family is just humongous. It's
huge. It's a lot of us. It's a lot of us.
For sure. So what are some of the favorite dishes that you like to cook?
Some of my favorite dishes to make, I like making cornbread stuffing. That is the, how do I say it? That is the politically correct term, but my grandmother called it dressing.
Okay.
It wasn't cornbread stuffing. It was dressing. It was
exactly. That's what it's called in my family. Dressing.
Yeah, it's called dressing. It's not cornbread stuffing. Stuffing? What's that? No, dressing. Dressing. And so that was one of my favorite dishes, because she would put like sage sausage and pepper and onion, and you had a little bit of poultry stew, you had some Ritz crackers, and so on and so forth. So I learned that by watching. She never really gave me the exact measurements. Now, there was one thing that she made that I had the actual measurements and I knew it by heart, was her pound cakes. I knew that by heart because a lot of the time she would say, Junior, which is my nickname, she would go, Junior, come and measure this out for Grandma. So I would measure out the flour and measure out the sugar. So that I learned by doing it. I still have it, it's all up here. So I learned it by heart by just doing it. But one of my favorites to make is dressing. And second would be baked macaroni and cheese.
Okay. Interesting, man. Dressing is one of my favorite dishes in terms of African-American soul food. And for me, because I like it so much, I only eat it, I only make it and eat it once a year.
Right.
And that is either things, mainly Thanksgiving. I try not to do it for Christmas, but I get offers to make it. But I tend to do it on Thanksgiving,
Right.
and then that's it because it is a heavy dish. It's fattening,
Right.
but totally enjoy making it. I think there's
Right.
just so much. I think it's one of those dishes where you can actually just put your soul into it.
Right. Exactly.
You can just so connect with it. It's not so technical, and so
Right.
you can put your passion in it and your
Right.
love in it. And it's one of those dishes as it just embodies that. So
Right.
it's definitely one of my favorite dishes to make
Right.
as well. So I would definitely love to get a chance to I've been to your Instagram channel, so I've seen and folks, if you get a chance, check it out. We'll have all that information in the description. And towards the end, we're going to have him just tell you how you can connect with him. But
Yeah.
on your Instagram channel, just seeing all of your cakes and your pies and things of that nature.
Yes, sir.
So I do plan on tasting your pound cakes
All right.
and things of that nature, man. And I love just watching your channel and watching how you cook. And
Thank
for
you.
me, like when I watch your channel, it seems to me like you just make the dishes that would seem to be difficult, you just make them with such ease,
Yeah.
with such simplicity, and but yet you can like tasting it is almost palpable, like you can see it virtually from the screen, So
Right.
I appreciate that.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, and you know what? And I have to go back. There's even with dressing, you say you do it like maybe once or twice a year. I can't say the same thing because for me, like I kid you not, I'm one of the countryest city boys you'd ever meet. Like it's the craziest thing because I can eat dressing in the summertime and I've done it. I've made, so I got a taste for dressing. I eat according to my taste bud, So I'll go ahead and I'll make a pan of dressing. Why did you make? My wife is like, why did you make this? This is what I had a taste for. So this is what I'm eating tonight. I'm going to have dressing, and it's not going to stop with dressing. It's going to be dressing and fried chicken and maybe some fried okra. That's just me. It's just my makeup. I've been eating like that.
Yeah. And for me, that's not to say that I can't eat it all year round. I can't. and so I heard you mention okra, and I just got onto okra within the last, I'd say 4 or 5 months, or 6 months.
Really?
I just got into okra. Yeah, it's something that it wasn't generally cooked in my immediate family in terms of my father, my mother, and my, me and my siblings.
Gotcha.
But my grandmother and them, or perhaps my great grandmother. I don't remember my grandmother cooking it, although my dad said that they would cook it and eat it. But I'm just now getting into okra, and I love okra. And I think one of the things for me that really got me into okra is knowing that it is a dish. Even the very name of it is a dish that we brought over from Africa.
Right.
So it's something that we brought over with us.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. We still call it by the same name, okra.
Wow.
And just the things we do with it and everything. So for me, it's just a way to connect back, and it tastes good if it's cooked right and it's done right. It's good.
Right. It goes good. It's good fried. It's good in gumbos. Oh man, it's excellent in gumbo. It's good in soups. It's the best. It's the best. Yes. Even in some type of African dishes. I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's fufu. Okra goes in that. Is it fufu that okra goes in?
It's you eat fufu with okra soup.
Right. That's what.
Yeah. Fufu or banku. You eat that with the okra soup. Yeah.
That's what it is. I knew it went in there somewhere, but I didn't know quite how it went. But yeah. So it's like a universal vegetable. It's awesome. I love it.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. So what made you choose the name Mildred's Kitchen? I mean, I know it's your grandmother's name and she inspired you. So I'm pretty sure that's the thing that just connected you to where you felt like, by doing this, was it a way of honoring her, the memory of her, the time spent with her?
Yes, it was. To me, it was, my grandmother was my second mom. If my mom wasn't able to be there, because my mom, she was hard-working woman, just busting it out overtime, like 5 times a week, you know what I mean? Like doubles back to back, making a living for us, My grandmother, I learned a lot of the core values of the love for food and how to prepare foods, to know when it's too salty, to season it as it's cooking, or to taste it before actually cooking it. You know, some people say, "Oh, that's gross," but I actually still do that to this day. Even when seasoning certain meats, you know, you taste it. I don't swallow it, but you taste it, and you swish and wash your mouth out and all that, and and you can also go according to the smell of the food. So my grandmother was the greatest inspiration for me naming the business after her. That was like my best friend when she died back in 2016. It was something that hit me hard. Like I never cried like that because that's like mom, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And so I said, I was the funniest thing. I was scared to start a catering business. I was really afraid. I had never, and I'm a type of person that I'm not afraid of anything. For the most part, I'm really not. But that one time in my life, I was afraid to start a catering business because I thought maybe it won't be successful, maybe this, maybe that, and maybe they won't support, maybe they won't buy. And I said, but what if they do? You know what I mean? What if they do? You have to kind of take that negative and just flip it around, And so what happened was I said, I'm going to start a catering business. And I went through all of that and getting licensing and doing this and yada, yada. And I said, I'm going to name it Mildred's Kitchen. I'm going to do this in my grandmother's honor. And I'm going to do some of her best meals that she made, even down to banana pudding, peach cobbler.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving was the feast of the year in our home. Like grandma would have, man, I'm gonna tell you, we didn't have just one meat. Some people have just turkey, No, that wasn't us. We had turkey, we had duck, we had ham, we had chitlin, we had baked chicken, fried chicken, we had lamb.
Wow.
Then when it came to vegetables, you had string bean, you had collard green, you had spinach. And it came to beans, you had black-eyed peas, you had lima beans. To desserts, pineapple coconut cake. You had sakatimi cake, which is a whole nother, that's a cake that make you slap somebody. Sakatimi cake. You had a plain pound cake. You had cheesecakes. You had cherry cheesecake, blueberry cheesecake, pineapple cheesecake, strawberry cheesecake, plain cheesecake. You had what's in that? Dutch chocolate. What's the name of that cake?
German chocolate.
German chocolate. That's it. We had German chocolate. We had that.
Favorite cake.
So it was everything. It was just the feast of the year. So I said, I'm going to name this after grandma. And then I even put my own flair because I did some culinary schooling as well. So I said, put my own flair with it, do grandma's meals. I'm not going to mess with her stuff. I'm not going to change that. But I can do some of her things and put a twist to it.
Yes.
Yeah. I did.
Yeah, because I've seen on your channel, your YouTube channel, Cooking with DJ, where you cooked more contemporary dishes.
Right.
And I could tell that you put that heritage in it, of Southern cuisine, African Americans, that soul food essence in it, but it's a modern dish, and so I was like, okay, so I see that like you weren't just sticking to that, but you allowed that to be the platform,
the basis, if you will.
Yeah, for what you could stem from with that. So that's beautiful, man. That's beautiful.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So how integral do you feel soul food is to your culinary tradition?
Okay.
Like, would you ever steer away from it? Would you always remain connected to it?
I'll always be connected to soul food. Soul food is a different type of cooking. It's the preparation. It's the time that it takes, the love that you put in it with seasoning it, and not to get all biblical, but how the scripture says about being seasoned with grace.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a way to season soul food.
Yeah.
Everybody can't do it, You have to know, they really can't. Either it's going to be bland or it's going to be too salty. It has to be just right. And it can't be too sweet, So I'll always be stuck to that root of soul food. I'm always going to have that. I may put a different spin on something, but it's always going to have a soul food basis.
Beautiful, man. So how important do you think it is to be able to trace or connect to your roots through the food that you cook?
Wow, that's an interesting question. I think sometimes family gatherings, when you have the food, it helps you to talk out things, your stories of what happened, and the histories of how this came about or how we started making this dish. Or one thing I do know is that bread pudding was something that I learned how to make from watching my grandmother. You got bread inside the house that's not about to go rotten, don't throw it out.
Right.
Don't throw it out. We didn't throw away anything, and I keep that to this day. So it's sharing the stories of where you came from when you didn't have this much, and you have learning how to make a meal out of what you had in the cabinet, even if it was beans, rice, and maybe canned pork. You know, we learned that, and so we talked, and we would learn how to go back in history of how they survived it, how they did it. You know, they did it by doing this, and they made the food stretch longer by adding this to it. Right. So that's one way of talking around the table with one another in a quick way.
Yeah, that's interesting, because for me, I've always found that food is the foodways of African Americans is powerful enough to bring different generations within the family to a common table, to discover ingredients, or to discover the ingredients of what makes up the recipe of who we are. You know, and so I hear you talk about this, and it's just, it just makes me think of how powerful food has been in your life, and how it's connected you to your heritage, the elders in your family, your ancestors, discovering things about them, and things that help for you to understand who you are as Donald Felder Jr. You know, and so that's a beautiful thing. Do you think that this will continue to play a role for you in even bridging, or do you see it, or have you seen evidence where it's played a role where the younger generation in your family still is able to connect to family? Because it's interesting, because it seems like we live in a time where family is not as cohesive as it used to be.
Very true.
Do you see where what you do is able to bring that cohesiveness?
Oh yeah, definitely. Prime example. My wife and I have this tradition that we keep every year, Christmas time. We share our Christmas mornings with our parents. She goes to her parents' house, I go to my parents' house, and we share Christmas breakfast and lunch, and we do that. And so what happens is I have a niece that is 7 years old. And at the time when I first started doing it about 3 or 4 years ago, she would watch me in the kitchen. Uncle Donald, what are you doing? I'm like, okay, I'm making this, or whatever. So I want to say a year and a half, 2 years ago, which actually helped her to learn how to make homemade biscuits. I was making biscuits for breakfast. I gave the spread. You know, you don't just give one thing. So you give them grits, you give them eggs, you give them bacon, and a homemade biscuit. You know, and so I showed her how to make homemade biscuits. This little girl loved making biscuits with Uncle Donald. I showed her how to put the flour, put your butter, to mix that together, and then to put in your baking powder and your sugar and do this and do that, mix it all. And she loved it. And the only thing she said all day was, I helped Uncle Donald make breakfast. I helped Uncle Donald me and Uncle Donald made biscuits. Yeah, that was nice. Uncle Donald, I love that. So that's another way to bring them into that. Let them see let them form the love for that, the love for food, the love for family, that closeness, because that was a bonding moment with my niece and I. Yeah, it was a bonding moment. She said, Uncle Donald showed me how to make biscuits. And to this day, she likes biscuits.
Awesome, man. I so appreciate that story, and the value of that story. I've seen it in my family. I think all of my fondest memories of my elders, and I've blogged about it. I've done a few YouTube episodes about it, but it's central and connected with food. Like talking to my ancestors, the elders in my family who have gone on now, they're now my ancestors, but having spent time with them, I was fortunate enough, blessed enough to know 5 out of my 8 great-grandparents.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and food gets connected to them. some of the things I eat, some of the things I tried to make that I seem to not be able to make it the way they made it, and things I enjoy eating,
Right,
gets connected to not just that food, but even the memory of that food.
right, right.
You know, like you talk a dish will come up and you'll remember, you know,
Yeah,
a story that was told, a story that was shared, you
right.
know, and so I think that's just a beautiful, powerful
Yeah,
thing that
yeah,
the connection that we have with
right.
food and
Yeah,
family.
it's true. I find myself today that even when I'm making a certain thing, sometimes I go online. I normally do things by just sight. I really don't. I rarely ever measure anything unless it's
Right.
something that I've never tried.
Mhm.
And then when I try it out for the first time, I'm like, okay, so next time I know I can do this. I can take this away. I can add that. Scratch that. I don't need that. And so I've learned that, about in the process of time. But there's something that I do that always makes me think of my grandmother. Every time I write down one of these new recipes, grandma had a habit of writing down the recipe or tearing it out of a magazine, and she would put it in her seasoning cabinet on the right side. And it didn't dawn on me until one day that I found myself doing. I looked, I said, I have like 30 recipes on the side of the seasoning cabinet. I said, oh my God. I say, you are your grandmother's grandchild. I do the same thing.
Right.
Like I put recipes inside my seasoning cabinet just like she did. It's amazing.
Beautiful.
It's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful, beautiful, man, beautiful. Wow, man. You know, I've been wanting to connect with you and to be able to do this and just have you share your story, because when I first saw what you were doing and I saw that you named it Mildred's Kitchen,
Yeah.
and then I don't know if it was my wife or my mother-in-law said to me, "Oh, that's his grandmother."
Yeah.
And you know, for what I do, you know, as a cultural and ancestral genealogist and an Afrocentric family historian, that just resonated with me.
Wow.
And just following your page, what you do, I was like, I got to connect with him. You know, I
Yeah.
think talking to him would be a great front porch stories series. And
Yeah.
you know, ideally, I like to do my front porch stories
Yeah.
on the front porch outside.
Right.
But I mean, it's
Right.
like 30 degrees outside right now, and we
Right.
got COVID going on. So in
Right.
reality,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
good to do,
Yeah.
be able to do it virtually.
Yeah.
But this is one of those things that I really, really,
Yeah.
really look forward to, and so I just really appreciate you making time.
Oh, yeah. I
To just be
appreciate
able to
being here,
just,
man.
yeah,
Um,
man, thank you. Just be able to kick this with me. So I just got just one last question for you. Where do you see Mildred's Kitchen 3 to 5 years from
Short term, where do I see Mildred's Kitchen? Well, my desire is to start off with a food truck. Start off small, save the money from that, and eventually move to a restaurant. That's what I want to do. God knows that's what I would love to have, a restaurant named after my grandmother. You know, that's where I see myself within 3 to 5 years, starting with a food truck, starting with that, and then saving until I'm able to get the restaurant
now?
and name it after my grandmother. That's my desire. Yeah.
Awesome, man. I think you can do it. I believe
Thank
in
you.
you. And
Thank
just from what you've done already, just how you even went out and started your own catering company, and just watching the foods that you cook.
Thank you.
And it's if you don't mind me saying this, the last time when we were scheduled to meet and we couldn't meet
Yeah.
is because somebody had booked you
Yeah.
for a gig, to
Right.
cater, and I'm like, that's
Yeah.
what's up, bro. Like,
Right.
do your thing,
Yeah.
make it happen. So I'm glad to hear that people choose you, and so I welcome people who are viewing this to if you're in the area. We're in Jersey, North Jersey. It all depends how you divide up the state. We either
Yeah.
North Jersey or the Upper Central Jersey, however you want
Right.
to put it. But
Right. Right.
how far do you go, like, to cater? Like, do you do statewide, or is it in a certain?
Well, during the pandemic, right now, what I'm doing basically now is I'm doing pickups only. That's what
Okay.
I'm doing now. The people have to pick up only within reason. If I'm dropping off, then it's depending on within the mileage. I'll drop it off to a place, but for a fee. It's not for free.
Right.
Gas isn't free. Gas prices are. It's a whole nother story. But yeah, right now it's kind of basically just picking up. But when things were open and normal, definitely delivering to as far as northern central Jersey.
Okay.
And far as maybe South Jersey, like Trenton area.
Okay.
You know, that, as far as that.
Yeah.
No
That's a nice
further than
radius.
that. Yeah,
That's
like
a nice radius, man.
yeah, it's a nice radius, but no further than like Willenboro. No Willenboro on us.
Okay.
You know, you'll have to come up, or we meet halfway or something. You know.
right.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you said Willenboro, man, because that's why I went to high school.
Oh, wow, awesome.
Yeah, I did high school in Willenboro. Interesting. Yeah. I feel you.
Nice.
Wow. So tell everyone how they can follow you, how they can get in touch with you. You know, just connects for Mildred's Kitchens catering, and also for your YouTube channel.
Okay, so Mildred's Kitchen, you can find me on Instagram, Mildred's Kitchen, at Mildred's Kitchen. I gotta remember the name of my page. Mildred's Kitchen Mildred's Kitchen catering. That's on Instagram. For emailing and for inquiries about our pricing and menus, you can email at Mildred's Kitchen LLC at AOL.com. Somebody told me that, you know, Mildred can cook. She has an AOL account, but Mildred's Kitchen LLC at AOL.com. Yeah, my YouTube channel is Cooking with DJ, COOKING with DJ. DJ stands for Donald Jr. My father was a cook too, so. But even I got my inspiration for the business from grandma.
Okay.
My grandma taught that. But Cooking with DJ. So,
okay, beautiful. So I'm gonna have all of that information in the description, as well as it'll be on the screen somewhere too, so people can check it out. Follow you. So check out his YouTube channel, Cooking with DJ. Subscribe to it. Like it. I know you're gonna like it. Share it with others, and please patronize. This is another Black-owned business. Patronize it. And just thank you for tuning into my channel, My Ancestry Chronicles with the Sean J. Gandy. I'm the Ancestry Chronicler, and be sure to subscribe, like, and share, and hit that little bell so you'll be notified of upcoming content. All right, good peoples. Appreciate you every single time. Peace.